my borge sê ek my ding nie deur my gaan trek nie, ek mooi hou en julle om punte te kan kry. Dit was baie lekker. Dit was die beste wedstryd wat ek in my lewe gery het. Die merk was op so hoë standaard, mens kan van niemand het vertel nie. As al die wedstryde so wil lyk dan sal dit 'n plesier wees om te kan ry.
Going into the Caledon 400, only 10 points separated the top two crews in the Special Vehicle Championship. Franz Čepek, senior and junior, led the Eastern Cape pair of Greg Harvey and Lionel Acton, with plenty at stake for both crews. While there was a great deal of interest in the championship battle between the Čepeks and the Eastern Cape pair, the Caledon also saw the return to action of some veteran off-roaders. Don Vale, navigating for Bucks Caroline, was one of them.
You know, off-roaders never die, and an old friend of mine, Bucks, invited me to come and share this with him, and I thought it would be a good idea, you know. Takes away some of the day-to-day activities at work, and it's good to get out and meet all the old guys again. So it's a one-off thing, and I'm going to enjoy it.
Also back behind the wheel of an off-road car was Rob Walk in a new vehicle brought in from America. Sitting alongside Walk in a new role was former driver Greg Weevil.
I'm glad I'm back actually. I'm enjoying it. I really am enjoying it again. A break like that seems to do one a lot of good. Back and I'm enjoying. Hopefully Greg's enjoying. What do you say about it?
I'm enjoying it, but yeah, I'm having a good time. It's nice to be different to being a navigator, but enjoyable.
With a top quality field, the Caledon 400 had the potential to produce one of the races of the season. Bucks Caroline and Don Vale led the pack away in the lubrication equipment Madiba, which was having only its second outing. Natal crew Derek Pinoy and Hilton Lowry were in hot pursuit of the Gauteng pair, with Nardes Alberts and Peter Mathieu in the Rapsco Raceco third on the road and looking to continue recent good form. Rustenburg 400 winners Stan Illman and Franz Stangl also finished the London to Mexico rally earlier this year and were back off-road racing in the Shell Raceco. Chasing after the bright yellow Raceco was Harry Roscoe in the Protea Playing Cards Raceco, who was the first of the single-seater brigade. Having to both drive and navigate places an extra burden on the single-seater drivers, who rely heavily on route markings carried out by race organisers. Behind Roscoe, the Port Elizabeth pair of Greg Harvey and Lionel Acton in the Queen Motorspares Raceco faced the dilemma of having to decide whether to push hard for an overall win or make sure of a finish to sustain their championship challenge. With consistency rather than sheer pace, also a hallmark of the father and son Čepek team in the V-Motors Raceco. The Čepeks also needed a finish to keep their championship charge going, but were starting to lose ground to the leading bunch of cars. There were serious problems for Craig Draper in the Castrol Raceco, who was busy with roadside repairs when Class B crew Owen Nordier and Rocco Berger went sailing past in their Sandmaster. At the front of the field, Bucks Caroline and Don Vale in the lubrication equipment Madiba were still setting a tremendous pace. Chasing after them were Derek Pinoy and Hilton Lowry in the Raceco, who were having a good run. Also having a good run were Nardes Alberts and Peter Mathieu in the Rapsa Raceco, who'd hit good form in the latter part of the season. Stan Illman and Franz Stangl were also having a good run in the Shell Raceco, but were being chased by Harry Roscoe, who was still the first of the single-seaters in the Protea Playing Cards Raceco. A consistent run saw Greg Harvey and Lionel Acton in the Queen Motorspares entry ahead of championship rivals Franz Čepek, senior and junior. Rob Walk and Greg Weevil had settled into a good rhythm in the Super Pave Raceco, with Walk's only complaint at this stage the lack of V8 power that pushed him along before his temporary absence from racing. Storming through the field were brothers Herman and Karl-Heinz Sulwald in the Sulwald Transport Raceco, who started from the middle of the field and were on a charge. The Sulwalds are the reigning special vehicle champions, but have not had a happy season and were looking for their first win. The Čepeks were battling with an engine misfire, with the V-Motors Raceco gradually slipping down the field. With the race decided on corrected time, the Čepeks had little chance of an overall win, but needed to finish ahead of championship rivals Greg Harvey and Lionel Acton. At the front of the field, Bucks Caroline and Don Vale in the lubrication equipment Madiba had lost ground through mechanical gremlins and were being rapidly caught on the road by the flying Sulwalds. Caroline and Vale were still setting a fast pace, but with the corrected time system of scoring, the Sulwalds had taken over the lead despite running second on the road. For Caroline and Vale, there was to be drama up ahead, with their challenge coming to an end with a broken gearbox. Although leading the race on corrected time, there was also drama ahead for the Sulwalds. They were running into clutch problems and were then hit by a 15-minute penalty for a technical infringement that was to drop them down to third spot at the finish. It was bad luck for the brothers from Palabora, but with their problems and the demise of the Caroline Vale car, it meant that Derek Pinoy and Hilton Laurie were up into first place on corrected time. The drama ahead of them also saw Nardus Alberts and Peter Mathieu move up a place or two. After another good outing in the Rapsa Raceco, Alberts and Mathieu slotted into second place ahead of the Sulwalds. Behind the leading trio of twin-seater cars, a good scrap had developed for fourth and fifth between the single-seaters of Richard Caroline in the lubrication equipment car and Harry Roscoe in the Protea playing cards Raceco. The elder of the Caroline brothers was going along as steadily as ever, but fourth place and honours in the battle of the single-seaters eventually went to Roscoe. On corrected time, Roscoe was a little more than 4 minutes ahead of Caroline. Sixth place overall went to Greg Harvey and Lionel Acton in the Queen Motorspace Raceco. From their point of view, the important thing was that they finished ahead of Franz Czepek Senior and Junior in the V-Motors Raceco, with the championship battle set to go all the way to the wire. Despite battling along with the V-Motors car not always firing on all cylinders, the Czepeks nursed the racecar home to finish 6 minutes behind Harvey and Acton, with the Roof of Africa a showdown for the two crews. Behind the Czepeks, another good run saw Wade Perrins and Derek Frankenberg into 8th place overall and first of the Class B entries. In a race of fluctuating fortunes, victory to Derek Pinoy and Hilton Laurie, ahead of Nardus Alberts and Peter Mathieu and the unfortunate Sulwald brothers, with the Special Vehicle Championship far from settled. Going into the Caledon 400, Alex Vowles led the 200 class motorcycle championship from Henny Human. In the 250 class, free-stated Graham McLaughlin on home territory in Weppner led Darrell Curtis and Janus Oosthuizen, with Rian van Niekerk out in front of Kevin Fisher and Errol Dalton on the Big Banger 500 category. Off-road racing's Kamikaze Motorcycle Brigade have produced some super races this season, with the Caledon 400 expected to keep the trend going. Local boy Graham McLaughlin on the Lesotho Office Equipment 250 Honda was into an early lead. Doing the chasing were Errol Dalton on the Lesotho Office Equipment Honda running in the 500 category and Darrell Curtis on the Pro Action AGA Panasonic KTM, who was looking to add the Caledon 400 to his Sugar Belt and Settler 400 victories earlier in the season. The Caledon also saw the return to action of Sugarpelt 400 winner Yuri Human, who was seriously injured earlier in the season. In the end, Human only completed half the course after complaining of severe fatigue, but it was good to see one of South Africa's top off-road riders back in action. Also back in action this season is Brian Bontekoning on the Schimble's Antelex Dairy Yamaha, who was being chased in the early stages by 500 championship leader Rian van Niekerk on the PD Motorcycles Honda. The Caledon route is a tough one for the motorcyclists, but was said to produce some close racing in the battle for overall and class honours. With the season coming to an end, every point was crucial for championship contenders. Free-stater Graham McLaughlin has yet to take an overall win in a national off-road event, but on home territory was in with a chance of breaking the ice. McLaughlin's lead was a tenuous one, and there was danger looming behind him in the form of Lesotho Office Equipment teammate Errol Dalton on the big 500 Honda. Dalton is a highly experienced Springbok and could see McLaughlin up ahead. Although he had McLaughlin in sight, Dalton also had to watch his back, with Darrell Curtis closing in with all three riders in sight of each other in what was building into a terrific race. Out in front in the 200 class in the early stages was Henny Human on the Lesotho Office Equipment Honda. Behind him, Yuri Human was feeling his way along after his long layoff and looked pleased enough to simply be back on a bike. Up ahead of the pair, a terrific duel was developing for second and third in the 500 class. Kevin Fisher on the 510 Honda and championship leader Rian Finikak on the PD Motorcycles Honda were locked in another of the battles that were developing throughout the field. Rian Finikak has ridden consistently all season and was making a bold attempt to catch Fisher. With the final bike results also decided on corrected time, seconds lost or gained are crucial. At the front of the field, there'd been a change in running order. Errol Dalton was now ahead of Graham McLaughlin and had a few anxious looks over his shoulder to check on McLaughlin's progress. McLaughlin was pushing along as hard as he could, but behind him, Darrell Curtis was really flying on the Pro Action AGA Panasonic KTM. With race distance running out on him, Curtis was making an all-out bid to get past the Free Stater, both on the road and on corrected time. Aware that Rian Finikak posed a threat, Kevin Fisher could not afford to make any late mistakes. But sandwiched between Fisher and Finikak was Clayton Enslin on the Kawasaki. Enslin had made a terrific charge to force his way into the top 5 and go into the lead in the 200 class. Now Rian Finikak faced a double challenge. He needed to try and catch both Enslin and Fisher, but race distance was running out on him, although third in class would do his championship hopes no harm. A second in the 200 class would also maintain Henny Human's championship hopes in the class, and he's another rider who's performed consistently all season. Good rides also saw Wayne Farmer and Dino Paolini force their way into the top 10, along with Brian Bontekoning. But with Alfie Cox competing overseas this season, the off-road bike category's been thrown wide open. In Cox's absence, Errol Dalton and Darrell Curtis have emerged as the dominant forces. Overall victory in the Caledon 400 also saw Errol Dalton take the 500 class, with second place Darrell Curtis taking the 250 category. Clayton Enslin's fourth place gave him the 200 class victory.
Errol, third win of the season.
Yeah, I had a very good race today. I think I rode quite a good, perfect race. I took it easy the first half, fell off on the first loop. I think that woke me up a bit and got going again. And after that, I just went for the front and stayed there. No mistakes.
Toyota, AGA Panasonic,